healthy new year to our friends in Urbino, Fano and Pesaro. We from Aswell have been asked to think about how the pandemic has affected us here and perhaps just to give a thought on one or two other items. The pandemic for a parish priest in rural ministry has not affected us as severely as those living in towns and cities. Aswell is self-contained with a bakery, butchers, pharmacy, general store and a doctor's surgery. This meant that many of us had no need to venture beyond the village, so we become quite isolated. Our pattern of worship and close connection with our parishioners has been challenged along with the rest of the country. The shock of not being able to enter the church was felt by everyone, non-church-going villagers included. We had to set about using technology very quickly, and we were surprised at how the older generation were able to pick up this skill. The rectory soon became the focus of worship, with the Eucharist being celebrated in the dining room, with the table becoming the altar, and the pet dog occasionally appearing on the screen. Morning prayer and evening prayer and a number of Celtic meditations were presented from the rectory office, and because of the beautiful weather during the summer, some from the garden. Many people on the electoral roll, about 60 people, received a phone call every week to see how they were coping and for a chat. Some of these people were self-isolating and not able to leave their home. Phone calls would take from just a couple of minutes to half an hour or even longer. On a positive note, the pandemic has introduced many more people to our services. On a usual Sunday, we would have approximately 80 people at the main service, but with Zoom, this increased to 120 people. We became more aware of one another's needs. The church set up a parish pantry to offer people on low incomes to come in and take food that had been donated by villagers to supplement their shopping. The community was more concerned with their neighbours than ever before, and offers of help came from all directions. The slower pace of life made people more aware of their surroundings, and they appreciated the countryside, which before had been taken for granted. And a short reading from John. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. When I was training to be a priest, I lived in a small village called Turvey. We lived just opposite a Benedictine monastery, and I was lucky enough to share their resources and find out more about their religious community, the way they worshipped and the way they prayed. One of the brothers, Brother John, was also training to be ordained as a priest, and because of this we had a lot in common. One day I was talking to him about a particular day's reading and how difficult I found it. I can't remember exactly what the reading was, but it was 20 or so verses. To my surprise, I found that Brother John just read each day just one verse, and then meditated on all day. For him to read John's Gospel would take nearly 2.5 years. Robert, he said, reading so many verses, you miss so much. So I was thinking about that single verse we heard from John and how it applies to his disciples. That reading doesn't on the face of it seem very controversial. Jesus certainly selected these men as his students before and beyond their own knowledge. His purpose in choosing these men was to establish the Christian church after his resurrection and ascension. Few people recoil at the idea of Jesus telling the 12 that their positions as disciples are entirely due to Jesus' choices and not theirs. Where this verse creates controversy is in relation to how, or if, Jesus chooses people to become Christians, and how, or if, the free will of those persons comes into play. As Brother John would say, one verse may be enough for a whole day's meditation, or thinking on this verse, perhaps even more. Thank you, everybody. I wish you a very good week for the prayer of Christian unity. We'll be joining in as much as we can. Sadly, we are into another lockdown and we can no longer do services within our church, which is a great shame. But times will change and we will get through these together. God bless you all.